friends, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are well. If you are new here, hi, my name is Becky. I've had type 1 diabetes for 17 years now, and I started using an insulin pump last year. I've now been on the Tandem T-Slim X2 for about a month, and previous to that I was on the Roche Solo. If you've seen any of my videos about the Solo, you'll know that pump did not work for me. There were a lot of problems with the cannulas and infusion sites, to the point where it was actually recalled from my hospital, which is why I have moved over to the Tandem T-Slim, and this is what we're going to be focusing on today, a full review of the T-Slim X2. I will be drawing on a little bit from my experiences with the Solo just to compare some of the tech. Obviously I'm not going to be comparing the infusion sites and things like that because hello, this wins, but just to give you some ideas of different ways that pump technology can work in different pumps, so that you can look at things you might want to consider when you're working out what kind of insulin pump you want, or whether the T-Slim is the right pump for you. I'm going to do it pros and cons style. I'm not going to go into too much detail on all of them because I have a lot of points that I wanted to share with you, especially as someone who is relatively new to pump life in comparison to my whole diabetes journey. There's a lot of things that I have kind of picked up on, and so if you have any questions about any of the points, please do leave them in the comments down below, but I didn't want to ramble and keep you here for hours. First thing I love about the T-Slim is that your insulin dosing can be so precise. For the basal, it can be to the nearest 0.1 unit per hour, and bolus can be to the nearest 0.001 units, which is obviously an incredibly precise dosage of insulin and really helps you match as close as possible to what your pancreas would be doing itself. The other thing I really love about the T-Slim is the fact that you can have 6 different profiles depending on kind of what type of day it is. So for example, I have a different profile for training, rest day, period, and being ill, because I will have very different insulin strategies for those things, and you can pre-program in up to 6 of those profiles into the T-Slim, and each one you can adjust the basal rate, the insulin to carb ratio, the correction factor, and your target blood sugar. So for example, you can have a different basal rate at 8 AM on a training day than you would do at 8 AM on a rest day, and being able to have those different profiles pre-programmed in is so helpful for when you just, maybe for example you get your period unexpectedly during the day and your blood sugars start to change. You can then just flip automatically over to your period profile, and all of those changes will automatically be implemented into your insulin delivery, and you don't have to do anything further. I really massively prefer the way the profiles are set up on the T-Slim compared to the Solo, because on the Solo you could still have profiles, but the only thing you could change in those profiles was your basal rate. Your insulin to carb ratio and your correction factor were set. You couldn't change them for each profile, so you just had your insulin to carb ratio and your correction factor for different times of day. You could change it per time of day in the settings, but that time of day that you've created will be applied to every single one of your profiles, which I found quite annoying because, for example, on a rest day I have a much different insulin to carb ratio than I do on a training day, because I train in the morning, and so I need a lot less insulin for breakfast, for example, than I would do if I was having the exact same meal on a rest day. So with the Solo you still have to do some calculations yourself, because you have to like alter your insulin to carb ratio manually. And the other thing that I love about the profiles and the basal rates is that you can have 24 different basal rates for each 24 hours. So if you wanted to, you could have a different basal rate or a different insulin to carb ratio or correction factor for every single hour of the day if you wanted to. So within your profiles you can have 24 different time blocks where you can alter all of those settings to, again, as closely match as possible how your pancreas would be delivering your insulin if it were working properly. And you can start and finish those time blocks at any point of the day if you wanted to. You could have a time block that starts at 8:53 in the morning and finishes at 9:27. You can be extremely precise with when you start and finish your time blocks, so that again you can really match your natural insulin delivery. Another thing that I love about the T-Slim that I wouldn't have picked up on if I hadn't have been using the Solo previously is that you can change any setting you want. You can do a temporary basal rate, you can alter your insulin profiles, do whatever you want while you have a bolus ongoing, and that bolus will continue to be delivered even while you're making these changes. Whereas on the Solo, if you had a bolus being delivered, for example an extended bolus, you couldn't change anything without it cancelling the bolus. So if you wanted to put on a temporary basal rate, it would cancel the remaining bolus. If you wanted to change your insulin to carb ratio in your settings, or you wanted to alter one of your insulin basal profiles in your settings, if you did anything like that, it would cancel any bolus that was ongoing, which always really annoyed me because I had to be really careful to make changes to my profiles when I wasn't using an extended bolus. And I use an extended bolus for almost every meal that I eat. I have a really slow digestion, so I've almost always got an extended bolus going on. And so that was really annoying, and with this it doesn't do that. The bolus will carry on regardless. And speaking of the extended bolus, something I really like about this, if you did want to do an extended bolus option, it shows the extended dose versus the upfront dose as a percentage of the total dose, and you can alter percent that you want before and extended, and then it gives you the option to then go and view, okay, how many actual units is that if I did say 50% now and 50% later. Whereas with the Solo, it didn't give the option of changing a percent, it just asked you to put in what how many units of insulin you want up front and how many units you want to be extended over whatever time frame you have chosen, which was fine. But again, it was a lot more mental calculation because, for example, I know that at breakfast I always have 75% up front and 25% extended. In the T-Slim, I can just say 75 up front, 25% extended, go. Whereas with the Solo, I would then have to calculate what 75% of my total dose was, and I'd have to put the number of units as a dosage into the Solo. So again, it was more calculation that I was still having to do myself because it didn't show up in a percentage. Something that's really simple but that I really do like about the T-Slim is that on the home screen it shows your insulin on board, which is really useful. For example, if you're considering doing a temporary basal rate, you can see automatically on your home screen whether or not you have any insulin on board that you want to take into consideration. And on that note, it's a very user-friendly pump. The home screen is very user-friendly. I really appreciate the fact that the bolus option is right there on the home screen because it makes it very quick and easy to do a bolus, and all of these settings are exactly what I would expect them to be in the pump. With the Solo, there were a few things that weren't in the same category of settings that I would have thought they would be in. For example, your insulin to carb ratio is in your time block setting rather than in your bolus setting, which never made sense to me. Whereas with the T-Slim, it's exactly how I logically would have put things. And it's there's not too many options, there's not too many things that you can fiddle around with, which makes it very simple to use. And if you are deep in one of the menus, the little bit here is actually a home button, so you can go straight back to your home screen without having to kind of keep clicking back. So just little things like that make it a very user-friendly pump. On that note, with the bolus being on the home screen, you may be a bit nervous about that in case you're worried about doing an accidental bolus, but it does feel very safe that you couldn't pocket dial a bolus. It has the lock button on the top, which is very kind of, you do have to apply some force to that for it to actually unlock, and after that you have the 1, 2, 3 passcode that you have to put in for it to then unlock the pump. So there's a lot of stages that you would have to go through to unlock the pump, which makes it feel very kind of safe and secure. In terms of wearing the pump, honestly I am still getting used to having something being tubed to me, but it is very lightweight. It's a lot smaller and more lightweight than I had imagined, which obviously makes it a lot more comfortable to be wearing. The clip that comes on the case that you get automatically with the pump is very, very secure, so I never feel like it might accidentally fall if I have properly clipped it on, which is really important for me. And the tubing, I would say, is the right length, where if it's on my leg, stomach or back, it will always fit into one of my pockets or onto my kind of waistband, and again, that's just really useful to make sure that you have enough movement to maneuver and wear different things, and still have a good option of where you can wear your pump. In terms of applying each infusion site, it's a very painless process. I've only really felt a bit of discomfort twice, and that's when it's gone straight into muscle when the cannula has kinked. But other than that, when an infusion site is successful and goes well, which it 99% of the time does, I don't feel a thing, which is obviously something that's very important to us to have. I don't want to be like going through pain every 2 to 3 days. And I really appreciate the number of different cannula options that you have. So you have the Autosoft 90s, the Autosoft 30s, which are more of an angled cannula, and you have the true steel cannulas if you don't want to have a soft cannula and a steel cannula works better for you. There might be more options, but those are kind of the 3 main ones that I've come across, and yeah, it's just really useful that you can customize it to what works for you personally. I really like at the moment the Autosoft 90s. The 30s haven't been working so well for me, and eventually I will try the true steel ones, but at the moment, if it's broke, don't fix it, and the Autosoft 90s are doing wonders for me, so I'm not like in a hurry to try the true steel ones, but I will do at some point. And again, like the sites are very secure. So at the moment I've got it put in my back, and because obviously I'm new to wearing the pump, I often forget like that I'm wearing it. If I have it sat next to me when I'm on the sofa or in bed, I'll often get up and forget it's there. I've also had it kind of be yanked if my the tubing is loose and I walk near the door handle and my tubing gets caught and it yanks in the pump. But the sites are so secure, it hasn't yet fallen out even when it's being yanked against the door handle, or if it's like literally fallen out of my pocket. It pulls against your skin, obviously, but I haven't yet had a psych mount, which seems a bit of a miracle to me, so very appreciative of that. And then in terms of just extra bits, it is actually waterproof, which I didn't realise. So I guess if you attached it to a bikini, you could swim. There are caveats to that, and there are kind of parameters within which it is waterproof. You can't go too deep or be in for too long, but I didn't realise it was waterproof, which makes this a much more viable option for me now for going on holiday. I thought I was going to have a pump break and go on to MDI whenever I go abroad, like to the beach. But maybe I won't do that now. I still need to consider it, but yeah, I appreciate the fact that it's waterproof and that is an option. And also the battery life is really long. I didn't think it would be so long. I always forget to plug it in and charge it, but I haven't yet completely run out of charge. Obviously, one of the main reasons why a lot of people choose the T-Slim is for the Basal IQ and Control IQ technology, where you can link up with your Dexcom G6 and create a closed loop system. This is something I would absolutely love to do, however I can't review it or speak about it because I don't have access to the Dexcom. I can't currently get them on prescription and I can't afford to buy them privately, so for now I'm not using Basal IQ or Control IQ. That's a big reason why a lot of people do choose the T-Slim. Seems amazing, would love it, it's not an option. Okay, so those are all the pros of the T-Slim, and I think you'll agree like there are a lot of pros. I really do love this pump, but there definitely are a few difficulties. So the first thing that does really genuinely annoy me about this pump is that there is a lot of waste with the site change process in terms of a lot of insulin waste and also a lot of plastic waste. Every single part of the syringe and the cartridge system and the infusion site is all wrapped in its own bit of plastic. It really bothers me. There's a lot of waste, and in terms of how you fill the cartridge up, again, a lot of insulin waste by the time you've got rid of all those bubbles and filled the tubing. Because I'm using the shorter tubing, there is a longer tubing option, but even this takes normally about 12 units to fill, so again, a fair bit of waste. Another thing about the site changes is I have found them more time consuming than the site changes with the Solo. It was also a lot easier on the Solo to separate an infusion site change from a reservoir change or a cartridge change, whereas this, it's a bit more fiddly to try and, for example, if a site fell out, it would be more fiddly to try and just replace the site instead of replacing like all of the cartridge and insulin in here as well. So that is just one thing to note. It is quite a time-consuming process and quite a wasteful process. In terms of wearing the pump, I did say a lot of pros. It's very lightweight, the tubing's the right length, etc. However, it is obviously not a patch pump, and the tubing does come with its own difficulties, finding where to wear it with different outfits. Things like if you're going to the loo and you've got it in an infusion site like on your leg, or it's in your pocket or something, and like just stuff like that, where oftentimes you'll end up just probably disconnecting so that you don't get tangled in your wires, or like getting dressed. You can't really always hold your pump while you're like putting on all of the different items of clothing, stuff like that. When I'm getting up in the middle of the night to go to the loo and I forget it's next to me in bed, and then you have to like carry it to go to the loo, just little bits like that. I'm not gonna lie, it is a bit of a hassle and something you definitely have to consciously think about when you're wearing a tubed pump. Maybe I will be like less conscious of it as time goes on, but right now I'm still having to like use a lot of brain power to think about different sites and where to store the pump and how to carry it, etc. And on that note as well, something that I found quite annoying is if I have my pump, for example, tucked into my bra or in like an inner pocket, and in the middle of winter and I've got lots of layers on top of that, if I need to do a bolus or if I need to put on a temp base or do anything with my pump, then have to go fishing around in all of those layers in the freezing cold weather, kind of getting back down to your base layer to fish your pump out of your sports bra or your inside pocket, which is quite annoying. However, I have just seen that the FDA have approved an app where you can now bolus from your phone, which will basically eliminate this problem altogether, and I can't wait. Obviously, it's only just been approved by the FDA at the time of filming this video, and so normally these kind of things take a long time to actually be distributed and for us to have access to them. However, just knowing that that's on the way, it's like a little hassle that is going to be relieved from my life, and I think that will make a big difference in kind of wearing the pump and accessing the pump when you're on the move. Another thing that I mentioned in the pros is it being compatible with the Dexcom G6. Again, I think Control IQ and Basal IQ are fantastic pieces of technology. However, I do wish it was compatible with more CGM options. I use the Freestyle Libre 2, which is obviously a flash rather than a CGM, but if there were other CGMs that were cheaper and that I had better access to, I would really, really love to use that technology, but it is only the Dexcom, which does feel quite exclusive to a large number of people. And the other two cons that I have are just little things, and one of them is unavoidable, which is that because there are so many cannula options, which I love and I think it caters to a wide range of people, there is obviously a bit of trial and error that comes with that. I've had a couple of really bad blood sugar days while trying the Autosoft 30s, while I worked out that those cannulas didn't work for me, and it's completely fine. Obviously there's trial and error with everything that we do with diabetes, but just having one other thing, not only especially if the t:slim is your first insulin pump and you're trying to work out kind of your pump settings and all of that, but on top of that you're trying to work out what cannulas are the best for you. It's a lot to take on board, so just be wary of that trial and error period might be a little bit longer with something like this, where you have so many options of so many things you can customize, which is a good thing. Just bear it in mind. And then the last thing is something that maybe I can fix, I just haven't worked out how to do it yet. It might be a software update, but it's that every time I put on either a 0% temp basal or I just do a stop insulin option, it then like waits 5 to 10 minutes and then it will beep and keep beeping until you dismiss the alarm to tell you that you haven't got any insulin on board, which is fine, like a safety feature to let you know you have no insulin, great, but it's annoying the fact that it like delays. So for example, if it's in my sports bra and I'm at the gym and I've got like a t-shirt and a hoodie on and I have to faff around with all of that, and I've put on a 0% temp basal because I'm going low. This is a situation that happens to me a lot. I've then put it back in my sports bra, and then like 10 minutes later it starts beeping at me, so I have to get it back out again to dismiss that alarm and then put it back away, which is obviously not a massive issue. It just seems weird that Tandem have decided to put that delay in with the alarm, and then it's just like accessing the pump all over again, which can be annoying. Yeah, that is my full review of the Tandem t:slim. As you can tell, I really do love this pump. I have a lot of pros. I could talk about it for a really long time, but I just wanted to give you kind of an overview as to things that I hope you will also love about this pump and things that it can like bring you in terms of your diabetes management. Also a couple of things just to be aware of that might be a bit annoying at the beginning while you start your life with a t:slim. So yeah, that is it for this video. I hope you guys all have an amazing day and I will see you soon. Bye!